Hello, hello, and welcome. Now we've got the microphone on. Welcome. I am Dr. DaeEss Pennington Wasio, and today we are diving into a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is how to prepare for psychedelic journeys. Today I will also touch on my upcoming course, The Ultimate Guide to Psychedelic Preparation, from set and setting to integrating insights. I'll also touch on what's on the horizon for 2024, including my psilocybin retreats and my exclusive apprenticeship program. So are you ready? Thank you for tuning in. Good to have you here. So just to get reacquainted, you are in the right place if you came to learn about how to prepare for psychedelic journeys. In case you don't know who I am Dr. DaeEss Pennington Wasio. I am a licensed integrative medical doctor. I'm also certified in psychedelic assisted therapy facilitation, and I lead psilocybin retreats where they are legal. And I also am a practicing physician in the state of Georgia in the United States, where I offer ketamine journeys. Now, as you can probably imagine, going on a psychedelic journey, whether that's with psilocybin, ayahuasca, or other elements, LSD, MDMA, you can't really get every little bit of preparation in this short presentation. But I'm going to give you a very thorough interview based on the latest research, based on my training and my experience. All right? So let us get right into it, shall we? So we're going to start by talking about the foundation of any psychedelic experience, and that is set and setting. Set refers to your mindset going into the experience, and setting is about the environment where the experience will take place. That brings into consideration everything from culture, religion, what's going on in society. And the concept of set and setting, yeah, it's a buzzword, but truly the significance cannot be overstated. So no matter which famous person you've heard emphasizing that set and setting is fundamental for safe and productive psychedelic experiences, it's true. So let's break it down a little bit further. When we think about mindset, that's what set refers to. Set is mindset. And I really look at your mindset as the canvas. And in terms of what we're talking about here, we focus on three key terms, and that is clarity, intention, and openness. So get clear. Why are you even considering embarking on this journey? What is it that you hope to gain or understand? It's really crucial to set an intention before you go down the rabbit hole. Now, of course, you'll hear as we do preparation sessions, you set an intention and then you let it go and surrender to the process. But basically what we're saying here is that your mindset going into a psychedelic journey plays a pivotal role in the kind of experience you'll have. Are you anxious? Are you excited? What's the driving intention behind your journey? So these thoughts and feelings can really act as, I would say, like precursors to the experiences that you may encounter. And actually, clinical research supports this. Studies have shown that a positive mindset can result in more positive outcomes, both therapeutically and experientially. So be mindful of where you are emotionally and psychologically before taking that transformative step. And I'll cover a little bit more about this in a moment with regards to self-talk and how that impacts your mindset going into a journey. And so let's talk about setting. That is your physical environment, your surroundings. Really what we're looking at here are safe spaces, guides, and sitters. Now, of course, the cultural environment matters, whether the substance is legal, whether it's acceptable. But right now we're going to talk about the space, the guides, and the sitters. So the physical space that you take your journey in can either be a sanctuary or it can be like a challenge course. Everything from the room's lighting, the artwork on the walls, the music that's played, all of these elements can dramatically shape your psychedelic experience. Ultimately, you want a setting that is safe and conducive to being able to surrender and let your guard down. If you are new to psychedelics, it's really beneficial to have a guide or a sitter, someone who is experienced, who can help you navigate your journey. And it's like just having the guardrails there. They don't necessarily have to get involved in the journey with you or talk, but safety is key. And I'll cover more of that in a bit. So research also indicates that when you have controlled settings with an expert facilitator, it results in more consistent positive outcomes. And that's coming from the studies where they're looking at MDMA and psilocybin for specific health conditions. So whether you're journeying at home, in nature, or at a retreat, it's really important to consider the environment. Is it adding to or subtracting from your experience? Of course, if you are a person of color, you want to make sure that you are sitting with someone who can safely be with you in that vulnerable state. I've covered this extensively in another forum called Sacred Psychedelic Saturday. It's part of the Psychedelic Sanctuary. So you can check it out on my website if you'd like to get past recordings and even more material. All right, so moving on, let's discuss the topic of physical preparedness. Your mind is not the only factor on the journey. The body plays a really essential role as well. What you consume and how you physically prepare yourself leading up to the psychedelic experience can impact the quality and even the depth of your journey. I like to think of the body as like a vessel for this transformative experience, and you want it to be as welcoming as possible. So if we start to think about diet, there isn't a large body of research that specifically links diet to the quality of a psychedelic experience, but common practice suggests that we eat a well-balanced, easily digestible meal. And typically you're going to be fasting before a session. So we're talking about changing your eating habits weeks before, avoiding greasy or heavy foods. That may help prevent some of the gastrointestinal discomfort, which could distract you from the experience. With most substances, it is common to practice fasting. You enter into the ceremony in a fasting state. Maybe you've been able to have water up to the point of taking whatever medicine. But in general, most people are fasting because you want to minimize the intestinal discomfort, the nausea and the vomiting. So the idea of being fasting is really important if you have diabetes, whether type 1 or type 2. Ultimately, we really are concerned with blood sugar control and management. When we do our retreats, we account for some people who may be on insulin or on pumps or on other oral hypoglycemics, and we manage it. So that's something that you really need to be aware of because you don't want to go into a trip and then become hypoglycemic and so on. Also, for psilocybin mushrooms and truffles, it's often recommended to avoid caffeine before a journey because psilocybin is known to increase heart rate and blood pressure. Caffeine would only increase that even more. And also when it comes to ayahuasca, same thing about caffeine, but with ayahuasca there is a specific diet. It's often referred to as a dieta. And the diet emphasizes clean, unprocessed foods, usually avoiding certain meats, and significantly eliminating things like caffeine. So as I mentioned, caffeine is a nervous system stimulant. The presence of caffeine could potentially interfere with the ayahuasca experience because with ayahuasca, you're going deep. It's introspective, maybe even meditative, depending on the journey. And so it's really a matter of physiologic safety. Both ayahuasca and caffeine stimulate the cardiovascular system. So combining the two could potentially put undue stress on your heart. I mentioned that the ayahuasca dieta includes fruits and veggies and grains and excluding things like fermented foods, dairy, caffeine. and meat. But the dieta, or the dietary preparation, is also designed to prepare your body and your mind for the profound experience. It's also really a practice of discipline. It's teaching you to make mindful choices about what you consume as you prepare for a transformative physical experience. And much like the mind, your body also needs to be prepared for this unique experience. Now, there is no one-size-fits-all approach to physical preparedness, but some people do find that light stretching or yoga prior to a session helps them feel more centered and comfortable. Again, the research here is limited, but anecdotally, many people do find it beneficial. So really, your physical well-being is not something to be taken lightly. And it's not about just being fit. It's about being holistically prepared for the experience. So whether that's stretching, yoga, or engaging in mindfulness practices, they can prepare you physically and help you, center your thoughts. And a well-prepared body can be a lot more receptive, giving you better control and awareness during your psychedelic journey. And let's face it, the more you tune in and you're with your body, the less likely that you're going to feel discomfort that distracts you from the transformative experience that you're about to embark on. You can learn to ride the waves of energy that are coming up in your body once you train in that. So equally important is your emotional and psychological state. You want to approach your psychedelic journey with as much emotional clarity as possible. Understanding the emotional and the psychological aspects is really like, you could think of it like training for a marathon. You don't just rock up and go for a run, like you prepare for a marathon. And so what I'd like to look at is two major components of the emotional and psychological side. The first is emotional intelligence, and the second is the psychological tools that help you manage the nervous system and your thoughts. So when you are really focusing on this sort of alignment of heart and mind, beginning with emotional intelligence, it's about recognizing and managing your emotional state. Emotional readiness is not about feeling perfect. It's not necessarily even about being totally healed or having total peace with your shadow, but it is about being prepared for a spectrum of experiences. Blissful and joyful moments, they happen, they can be enlightening, but even the painful or sorrowful moments in terms of the content that comes up can also be really powerful. So before you agree to go on a journey, again, we're going to go into inquiry here. Ask yourself some questions. How am I really doing emotionally? And be honest. Is this the right time to embark on this journey? Whatever your current emotional state is, whether you're full of grief or love or frustration, those states can be magnified under psychedelics, and recent clinical studies confirm that we really need to be aware of this. So being aware of your emotional state and having tools for integration, things like a quick grounding exercise, deep, slow breathing, or even longer meditation sessions can be helpful. In all of my private psilocybin journeys and our group retreats, I provide the participants with guided meditations, journal prompts, and breathing exercises to really help familiarize them with how to bring calm to the nervous system, how to be in the present, even if there's challenging emotions, how to work with your internal states, your inner child, your protector parts. All of that is really important. And what we're tying into there with all this preparation and emotional intelligence is we're tuning into resilience. And my friends, if you've seen this book, The Top 10 Traits of Highly Resilient People, the number one trait of resilience is insight. It's emotional intelligence. So if you want to have a journey, no matter what's going to come up, even if it's tumultuous, that emotional awareness is key. So cognitive frameworks, if we're jumping now into the psychological tools, cognitive frameworks, like the way you perceive things and the story you tell yourself about what's happening in your world, these can really be a lifesaver when you're navigating the psychedelic space. A cognitive framework could be as simple as reminding yourself that, okay, I took a substance and these effects are going to wear off. Because sometimes you can be in it and be thinking, oh my God, what's happening? How long is this going to last? And you just have to remind yourself. Being psychologically prepared also involves understanding and respecting that your subconscious mind is going to play a significant role in your experience. So your fears, your hopes, your past traumas, they might all make an appearance, either one at a time or all. It really begs the question, are you ready to confront what might come up? And that gives you an additional reason to look at, is this the right setting? Are these the right people? Is this the right guide? Is this the right time? Now, I've covered an extensive masterclass on psilocybin. Check it out on my website, wandrea.com, or on YouTube. And in particular, if you're going to be sitting with magic mushrooms or truffles, it's important to know what the contraindications are, okay? That's like number one. If you're under psychiatric care or taking certain medications, you really want to be talking to a healthcare provider and a facilitator who is trained and can advise you as whether or not you'd even be a good candidate for the particular substance. And there have been numerous studies that have shown that there are contraindications with certain medications and psychiatric conditions. So for most people, they know that being on a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, SSRI, the popular antidepressants, those are a no-no if you're going to be sitting with a substance like psilocybin or ayahuasca. If you have psychiatric conditions like bipolar, particularly with mania, in yourself or a first-degree relative, schizophrenia, psychosis, a history of that in yourself or a first-degree relative. So it's really crucial to be aware of that. And if you happen to get a guide or sitter who doesn't ask you about these psychiatric illnesses, your family history, then you should really reconsider the guide you're sitting with. So those are just some of the considerations. If you're particularly looking at psilocybin, I would point you to my website where there's more in-depth information on that particular substance. So these are things to be aware of. And if we start looking at self-talk, I mentioned that self-talk impacts our mindset, and it can be really helpful when you're navigating a difficult journey. So the dialogue that you have with yourself, if you're conscious of it, the dialogue you have with yourself during a session can really influence your experience. If you find yourself going down a challenging path, rather than going, oh my God, this is so scary, I don't want this, why did I do this? Which can just heighten the sense of anxiety and lead to a challenging trip. Instead, anchoring phrases like, this too shall pass, this is temporary, I'm safe, this is for my growth. These kinds of phrases can act like a lifeline in moments of difficulty. And they really help to ground you and help you to navigate through. One of our recent retreat participants shared that as she was going into the journey and she felt all this anxiety coming up, she could hear my voice in her head because she had been listening to the guided meditations that go with the program. And that was able to kind of like give her a track to not go into fearful, spiraled out thinking. And, the use of mindfulness techniques as well can also be very beneficial, like practicing grounding exercises, focusing on your breath, feeling yourself physically in the space. That can all help to pull you back from overwhelming sensations or thoughts. And again, we're also going to remember the power of intention setting. In the 6-week course that I have coming up, we go hard on intentions because it's a double-edged sword. But going into your experience with a clear intention can serve as kind of a guiding light if the journey starts to get murky. Now, I know I said that we have to set an intention and forget it, but if you find yourself in murky waters, it's nice to have your intention in mind, whether your journey is about seeking insight or healing, compassion or connection. Keeping the intention in mind can provide a sense of purpose and direction. So just remember that each journey is unique. Each journey can be unpredictably rich in emotional and psychological material. So when you equip yourself with these mental strategies, it can make a world of difference between a challenging experience and a transformative one. And as someone deeply engaged in trauma training and trauma-informed care, I cannot stress enough the importance of professional guidance and a supportive environment, especially if you're navigating trauma. These journeys can both heal and they can harm. And in our evolving understanding of psychedelic therapy, especially the trauma-informed approaches, they're starting to become a cornerstone. We know from anecdotal evidence and a growing body of clinical research that psychedelics have immense potential in healing trauma. I've shared about that on my podcast and on all of these platforms. It was a game changer for me, but it wasn't always smooth sailing. And so it's really vital to proceed with caution and with proper guidance. So I mentioned I have this upcoming course, a 6-week virtual course on preparing for psychedelic journeys. But in 2024, I'm also teaching an entire course for therapists that is on this topic of trauma-informed psychedelic facilitation. That's how important it is. But as we're looking at trauma, there really are 2 key aspects that I want to focus on just for today in this short overview, and that's healing trauma and boundaries. When we start thinking about healing from trauma, I want to just call your attention to evidence-based approaches. Of course, I'm a medical scientist. I'm going to lean on the research. There are countless anecdotal reports of approaches that could work with psychedelics, but I'm going to stick with what's been documented for the sake of my audience that wants safety. So there have been multiple studies that indicate that psychedelics like psilocybin, MDMA, which isn't a classic psychedelic, but it's been studied, these can be highly effective in treating PTSD, depression, and anxiety, particularly when combined with psychotherapy. But you have to remember that these substances are not a magic bullet. It's not like you take it and it does all of the work. You're going to be doing some work. If you're in a good therapeutic alliance and a safe container, there's work that happens there. Not that the therapist is fixing you, but they can serve as a sounding board and a safety element. And we'll get into that more in a bit. But you have to remember that preparation is crucial. Now, there are some therapeutic models that are tried and true, like somatic experiencing. I mentioned your body being prepared for a journey. Your body is also storing so much, not just trauma, but memories and tension. And so somatic experiencing, which is one of the body-based modalities, is wonderful in connection with psychedelic therapy pre and post journey. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or EMDR, as well as neurofeedback. All of these could be combined with psychedelics for a more holistic approach to trauma healing. If you're dealing with trauma, I strongly recommend that you work with a specialist, someone who is trained in trauma healing. And I'll go into, as I said, more detail about healing trauma with psychedelics in my upcoming course, The Ultimate Guide to Psychedelic Preparation, which starts November 20th. All right, so next up on trauma and healing is about setting boundaries. And in trauma-informed approaches, consent is essential, especially around physical touch. Touch can be incredibly healing for some people. It can be a repair mechanism, but it can also be a trigger. So it is essential to discuss your comfort level with touch with the facilitators before your session. If you're with a guide or a sitter, you've got to also establish a clear signal, a clear method of giving, as well as withdrawing consent. It could be a hand signal, it could be a word. Granted, you might not have many words It might just be as simple as no. But you need to be able to quickly communicate your needs in the moment. And always remember that even if at the beginning you say, yeah, I think I'm okay with touch, you are not locked into a yes or a no. Consent is ongoing and it can be changed at any time, particularly on the no side. So know your boundaries. Do not be afraid to communicate them. Whether you want physical touch or not, make this clear to your guide or your sitter, because your boundaries deserve to be respected. And last but not least, you must be aware of the legal and ethical considerations around psychedelics. Always remember, safety and harm reduction are key. And while psychedelics offer this expansive universe of emotional and spiritual growth, they also reside in a really complex legal landscape for most of us. Even though we're seeing more cities around the world decriminalize substances like psilocybin, laws remain varied and very confusing. So I invite you to take a moment to educate yourself on the laws in your jurisdiction. In some places, you could actually be risking significant legal repercussions. And remember, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. It's your responsibility to understand the risks. There is a country-by-country list of the legal status of psychedelics that can be found at psychedelicalpha.com. And in a moment, I will put that into the chat. Next up is ethical considerations. So beyond legality, I'm inviting you to consider the ethics of your choices. Where are your psychedelics coming from? As you'll read in this book, maybe you can't see it. Another book that I published this year is called Sacred Medicine, Exploring the Psychedelic Hero's Journey. In the book, there's a story shared by Julia Squared. These are two women who both are named Julia that work together in the space. Here it is, Sacred Medicine. And in their story, they really give it to us. They share a really harrowing example of what can go wrong when you don't know or don't vet your source, both the provider of your medicine and whoever cultivated the substance, because the ethics and the practices of the person serving or cultivating your substance can directly and indirectly impact you. So if you're really wanting to hear some personal stories of people around the world who've used a number of different substances, from psychedelics as well as shamanic ceremonies, check out Sacred Medicine. So the next thing I would invite you to consider is, where have your substances been sourced from? So as I mentioned, you want to know who cultivated it, but the other question is, are your substances being sourced sustainably? This is particularly important for folks who are getting things from South America, Mexico, Costa Rica, but mainly the Amazon. It's like, we really want to know, is it being sourced ethically and sustainably? Are you supporting organizations or communities that are working ethically in the space? Because really, psychedelics are not just about personal transformation. This is about community responsibility as well. And as the field is growing, we really do have a duty to shape it in a way that's equitable, ethical, and just for everyone. So I'm curious to know if you have any questions. You can definitely pop them into the chat. And if you'll permit me, I want to share a little bit about an upcoming course. I said I would tell you about this. It is the ultimate guide to psychedelic preparation, from set and setting to integrating insights. So as we're nearing the end of my presentation, I'd like to invite you to go on a deeper exploration. If what I've discussed so far has piqued your curiosity, if you're nodding your head saying, yeah, I need more of this, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 6-week course, The Ultimate Guide to Psychedelic Preparation, from set and setting to integrating insights. So who is this course for? It is for those of you who are new to the psychedelic space and you want to get it right from the start. It's for seasoned psychonauts as well, looking to deepen their experience and better integrate their insights into everyday life. It's also for healthcare professionals and mental health practitioners interested in expanding their knowledge and toolkit. And it's for anyone who's faced a challenging trip and wants to understand how to navigate it more skillfully the next time. So the benefits of this 6-week virtual course. What are you going to get out of it? Well, first and foremost, you gain a thorough understanding of psychedelic preparation, integration, and no more guesswork. Like, you'll be prepared. You'll get evidence-based practices grounded in 23 years of my medical experience and the latest research. We'll dive into physical and psychological readiness, ensuring that you are well prepared for your journey. And you'll also learn about the often overlooked element of post-journey integration, which is critical for lasting transformation. So some of the cool features about this 6-week prep course: we've got interactive weekly modules, guided meditations, journaling prompts for prep and integration, engaging assignments. We've got quizzes, a dedicated community, and you'll also have live Q&A sessions to answer your burning questions. So if you'd like to be part of a supportive, like-minded community of peeps who are, like you, on a quest for deeper understanding and personal growth, then join the course that starts November 20th. You'll have direct access to me and the guest lecturers offering you personalized guidance. And you'll also get exclusive access to additional resources and tools that will continually keep you in the loop on the latest in psychedelic science. So if this sounds like the perfect next step in your journey, I encourage you to join us. In this field, really, community, guidance, and reliable information are just indispensable. So I'm offering all of that to you and more in this comprehensive 6-week course. And I can't wait to see where the journey takes us. As I said, the course opens November 20th. And since this is the first time that I'm offering the course, we have a special introductory price. And if you enroll before my birthday, which is November 9th, you will get an early discount. So if you have questions, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'm happy to take questions here today as well. And yeah, would love to see what questions we have coming in. And finally, the other thing I promised to share with you today is information about my apprenticeship program, which is starting in 2024, and some of the retreats. So if you're looking to go deeper, not just in your own personal transformation, but you also want to assist the transformation of other people, then my Alchemy of the Soul apprenticeship program is happening in 2024. And that program is really tailored for mental health practitioners who want to integrate psychedelic therapies with trauma-informed approaches into your practice. It's for those of you who've been passionately following the field of psychedelics and you're now ready to move from theory into practice. And of course, for anyone who's completed my 6-week course and wants to take it to the next level, then you can join us. The apprenticeship program will really give unparalleled hands-on experience. It's not just theoretical, this is real-world application. So you'll have the chance to work closely with me and my team, diving into case studies, participating in ongoing research, and even engaging in live sessions under supervision in countries where it's completely legal to consume psilocybin truffles, in most cases, or mushrooms. And you'll also get really the opportunity to learn the nuances of setting, of ethical considerations, and best practices that really can only be taught through direct experience. And experiential learning is where I'm at. So also in 2024, the apprenticeship gives you the opportunity to join experiential retreats so that you get the experience of being on retreat and experiencing these substances if you're not accustomed to psilocybin truffles or mushrooms. But these aren't your typical retreats. These are immersive educational experiences where you get to apply what you've learned in a controlled, ethical, and legal environment. So just imagine the richness of learning that comes from that level of engagement, right? So this will give you the benefit of being at the forefront of an evolving field, gaining expertise that is highly sought after. And let's not forget the intangibles, the connections that you'll make, the lives that you can touch, and the personal growth that you'll achieve. So if apprenticeship and mentorship is calling to you, if you hear that whisper in your soul saying, this is my path, then I invite you to apply. Just visit wandrea.com and you can learn more. And let's expand the boundaries of what's possible in healing together. So I'm really looking forward to 2024 and potentially working with some of you. So let's see what questions have come in. Let me see. Dun, da, da, da. So thank you all for being here. How was this presentation for you? Was this helpful? I hope so. All right, I'm looking for the comments. Where they at? What questions do you have? Bear with me here. All right, so is this a preparation for taking ayahuasca? So Deb, thank you for the question. I don't know how long ago you posted that, but as you heard in the presentation, we did talk about preparing for ayahuasca. The one thing that I didn't go over in this brief overview that we cover in depth in the 6-week course is that for some people, six weeks is great prep. For others, if you're going on a serious journey like ayahuasca and you have a lot of trauma, if you haven't been doing mindfulness or meditation or shadow work or been to psychotherapy, you might want a full year of prep working with an integration or prep coach to prepare for the journey. So it could be that what I'm sharing with you could be useful for ayahuasca, and in the course we go into that more specifically. All right. And Shosha says, this is so helpful to everyone in regards to all healing through plant, mushroom, chemical, and surgery. Taking care of ourselves lovingly is the sacred first step to head anywhere good. Oh, I am so with you on that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Agreed. All right, what else is in here? Oh, wonderful. So lovely to hear that you listened to my interview with Bia Labache from Chacruna and learned about the ethics involved. Awesome. That was in the Psychedelic Assisted Therapy Global Summit. Absolutely, definitely, if you're interested in the ethics in indigenous reciprocity, visit Chacruna's website and you'll learn a lot more. They also offer courses and workshops and really great material so that you can be ethical and responsible in the space. All right, Keith asks, can you provide thoughts on using the Johns Hopkins playlist for a trip and music choice in general? So yeah, absolutely. Music choice plays a big role in what you will experience. The Johns Hopkins playlist has classical music. If you're a lover of classical music, that might be great for your trip. If classical music triggers memories or feelings that are not pleasant, I would not recommend that. I have personally never journeyed with that playlist because it's not my vibe. I played piano, played classical music growing up, but that is not something I would want in the mystical realms. But similarly, music choice plays a big role in what comes up. We like to do our ceremonies with live music. Myself, in the retreat we have this week in the Netherlands, Renee Eva is our musician. So we tune in and get a sense for the energy in the space. And you can tell when someone needs music that's a little more chill or when there's an energy that needs to come up or needs to be released, the music should change with the energy of the group. And of course, that takes a lot of talent and expertise. So there are also a lot of people who were trained, say, in the underground, facilitating journeys with ayahuasca or Santo Daime or Wachuma or psilocybin, and then they've incorporated music from those different traditions, and they use a mix and a match. So what I mean by that is I hear a lot of mantras, mantras from the, the Indian tradition are being sung in ceremonies. So it's not like people are staying strictly tuned into the lineage or the tradition that the substance is from. Like the ayahuasca icaros are very specific. They're also very beautiful, and they have meaning, and a talented ayahuasquero or ayahuasquera would be singing these in response to what's going on in the energy of a particular person or the entire group. But for some people, if they feel like hearing native chants or these kinds of sounds could be disruptive, could be triggering, you'd want to discuss that with the team in advance. I do definitely feel like music definitely can help you get out of a tough spot if you're in one. Music can enhance things. It can get you back on track if you got kind of derailed. So having music that shifts with the energy is hugely important. All right. And Abe has asked a question. How do you manage the legal frameworks and finding the substances in France? Well, ABE, I don't. In France, these things are not legal. Like where I live in France, they are decades, years, if not a decade away from even legalizing the most basic of materials. So when I facilitate journeys, we fly to countries where it is legal, simply because, France, it ain't happening. I do ceremonies with ketamine in the United States, where I'm a licensed physician in the state of Georgia. I do psilocybin truffles in the Netherlands, psilocybin mushrooms in certain parts of Mexico, Costa Rica, and Jamaica. The British Virgin Islands also has legalized. So I promised you guys that I would pop a link in. I'm going to share this link with you of where you can get the information online about where it's legal. Hang on. Let me find the link. Because every country is different. It's really up to you to know. Like a lot of people are doing events in Portugal, which isn't exactly 100% legal because it's been decriminalized. So it really is up to you to learn the laws in your city, country, state, and what have you. All right, I'm going to pop this in. There you go. Psychedelic Alpha. That's where you can find the laws out there. All right, let's see what other questions. Hello, Sandra D. Miss you, beautiful soul. Sandra D is one of the good ones out there. So would this course be appropriate for someone who doesn't want to do the shrooms but wants to learn? Absolutely. This, as you know how I roll, Sandra D. I like to teach. I like to allow people to experience. This course is really to prepare you for taking a substance, but it's also going to be helpful if you just want to learn how to surrender and be in expanded states of consciousness. So absolutely stay tuned for, or go to my website so you can enroll, and I would love to see you there. Sandra D is one of my favorite humans on the planet. Would love to have you there. All right, so other questions that have come in. Hang on, trying to get my questions thing. All right. The alchemy apprenticeship sounds amazing. Hey, Jamie, good to see you. Will you only be taking already registered professionals, or would students in the middle of psychotherapy programs be admitted? Absolutely. We will consider on a case-by-case basis who comes in, but if you are currently in a psychotherapy program, yeah, we can actually absolutely talk about that. If you do the apprenticeship program, it's not giving you license to practice something illegal, but you can have a heads up on getting the education, getting the experience. You would be probably coming over to the Netherlands, so you get to experience in a legal setting. And so Jamie would absolutely love to have you. And y'all should check out Jamie's story in the book as well. Lovely to have you. All right, Miles, thank you for the comment. I'm glad this was a good refresher. And Shosha asks, would starting with microdosing be a good idea to start working in this field? So do you mean working as in helping people? I need you to clarify that. When you say working in the field, do you mean like being a microdosing coach or what? I have done other videos on YouTube about microdosing, and if you join us in the Sacred Psychedelic Saturday, which is the first Saturday of the month, I host a free harm reduction and education Zoom. So you can come and learn, you can share, you can interact. And I've done a video or two about microdosing. So when you join Sacred Psychedelic Saturday, you get access to all the past replays. All right. Let's see. So John asks, I feel that thinking loving intentions as the qualifier for intentions helps to bring the positive thinking to the process. How do you feel about this? All right, having loving intentions. Well, I mean, in general, the word loving intention is good. And so, yeah, that would absolutely bring in good-ish energy. I'll just give you my little asterisk, my little caveat. One of the things that we talk about in the ethical section of all of our training programs is the idea of transference and counter-transference. Not only will people feel good in a psychedelic state, some people may feel sexual energy coming on. So if you bring in loving intentions and you have this fondness that, there have been case studies where people said that they either projected love onto their facilitator or guru status, like, oh, you're my guru, you've been the one helping me heal, or oh, I feel such love that they want to get romantically involved. And that is a huge red flag and a no-no. But I don't think that's where you're going with your question or your statement, John. I would say that for me and my clients, what we focus on is compassion. So loving intentions or compassion for yourself, for whatever material may come up, that I find is hugely important. All right. Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay, so Shosha is clarifying about working with microdosing. So you mean taking microdoses personally, and your question was, would that be a good place to start? Well, it could be if you can access it legally, safely, ethically. Microdosing could be a great way for getting started with one of these substances. It's not necessarily going to get you into a full expanded state of consciousness for healing, but one of the nice things about microdosing is it's helping you build a relationship with this sacred teacher or ally. Depending on what your intentions are, whether it's for healing, whether it's for creativity or connection, for microdosing could be useful. But I would state that you still need to look at the contraindications because there isn't a lot of great data out there about microdosing and its safety, especially long term. But definitely check out the videos I have online about microdosing. I even did a special masterclass on microdosing for women's health because I have found personally that microdosing psilocybin has been really helpful for menopausal symptoms and mood and creativity. But we are also happy to promote that a group out of the UK is doing a research survey on microdosing for women's health, mainly menstruation. So check out my Instagram, or I'll post it here soon. So if you are a woman and you are in menstrual age range and you would like to take part in a study, that would be really helpful. And so we really need this. We need more research studies, particularly around microdosing, to see if it works. So there you have it, my friends. I hope that this has been, as someone said, a nice refresher. This has been, my intention was to give you an overview of what we really look at for safe psychedelic preparation. Obviously, there's more to cover than in a 45-minute talk, but hopefully this was helpful. If you have questions, you can reach out to me. Just visit me online at onedrea.com. And as I mentioned, Sacred Psychedelic Saturday happens on the first Saturday of the month. It's totally free. We meet on Zoom, and it's a great place to connect with other people, to share, to integrate what is coming for you. A lot of people who fly to other countries where they don't offer integration, and then you go back into your Western world, it can be really hard. Sometimes your friends and your family are like, can you quit telling me about your weirdo experience? So with our Zoom meetup, you really get to connect. Or you can stay silent and just learn. It's totally free. You can make a donation if you feel like it, but it's a safe harm reduction space. So definitely check us out there on the first Saturday of the month. All right, my friends, it has been such a pleasure to connect with you and to read your questions. I hope some of you will join us for the ultimate guide to psychedelic preparation that is starting on November 20th. I think it's going to be a really wonderful way to help you work with me directly and some of our guest lecturers so that you can learn how to best prepare yourself. All right, so you can check out all the details online. I wish you many blessings. I wish you safe journeys. And remember that you are a gift to the world. So share your presence with passion. Much love, everyone. Bye for now.